Yeah, go on.
Okay. It's 6 o'clock. I'd like to call the meeting to order. We'll start with this is the Architectural Review Board meeting on April 21st. We'll start with the swearing in of our new member, Michael Gillen.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Step down here with me. Please raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, Michael Gillen,
Do hereby swear
do hereby swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution and laws of the United States of America,
the Constitution and laws of the United States of America,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution and laws of the State of Ohio,
the Charter, ordinances, and resolutions of the City of Twinsburg, Ohio,
the Charter, ordinances, and resolutions of the City of Twinsburg, Ohio,
and will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
and will faithfully, honestly, and impartially
discharge the duties as a member of the Architectural Review Board
honestly and impartially discharge the duties as a member of the Architectural Review Board
to the best of my ability as I shall answer to God.
to the best of my ability as I shall answer to God.
Congratulations. And as I said, we'll do 2 signatures here. So first, sorry about your name.
To the best of my ability, I shall answer to God.
So the change here.
One more step.
Yeah, see, this part, was
He is official, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much.
all right.
Okay, so now we'll move on to the roll call of all members. Jason?
Mrs. Frazier,
Here.
Mr. Markovitz,
Here.
Mr. Midley,
Here.
Mr. Sharma,
Here.
Mr. Gillen.
Here.
Next on the agenda, we have elections for chairperson, a vice chair, and a secretary. We had performed these elections in January. Mr. Law Director, do you understand why they're back on the agenda?
I was going to ask the same question to you, actually. And I consulted the code there before we started, and I said at the first meeting of the year, those roles were filled. So, Jason, if you have anything to add on that point about why it was added to the agenda, I share the same question as the chair.
I don't have like a real clear answer. I was told that it was supposed to take place in April, that we did it too soon.
Okay.
Well, I would, based on that, I would say that I would recommend that you continue that to the next meeting and let us figure out exactly why it was put back on. Because if you already held the elections at the beginning of the year, that's what I believe the code says that you need to do. I don't know why we would do it again.
In the ordinance, it asks for a chairperson and a secretary. It does not ask for a vice chair, so that also is a new position that is on this agenda that is not in the ordinance.
Yeah, I noticed that as well.
We can elect one if it makes people feel comfortable, but in case of the absence of someone. But I think in the case of the absence of the chairperson, the secretary then becomes the chair, unless the board
Do that. Sometimes
agrees that somebody else will do it.
Yeah,
And
sometimes the most senior member on a board will step up in the event that both your officers are unavailable.
right.
But again, I shared the same questions when I took a look at this. You might have noticed I pulled up my laptop before we started.
Okay.
Because normally on boards and commissions, the officers are elected at the first, we call it the organizational meeting, which is done at the first meeting of the year. So I too was curious. In fact, as I said, I was going to ask you why we were doing that in April.
Okay.
So why don't we kick that back to the next meeting and the staff can can send out an email or send out some type of communication, have it ready for the next meeting to inform the ARC board about why that was there.
Okay, then I will make a motion to continue with the current officers and to postpone the election of any new member or any new officers.
I'll second.
Who seconded?
That it.
Mrs. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Markovitz,
Yes.
Mr. Gillen,
Yes.
Mr. Midlick,
Yes.
Mr. Sharma.
Yes.
Normally, at this point, we would do the approval of the minutes. On our agenda, they've been moved to after the cases. I am okay with continuing as the agenda currently is. Does anyone, would anyone prefer to do the approvals at this point in the meeting?
I'm good with it.
All right, then we'll continue with the agenda as written. After that, we have public participation. So this is the opportunity for anyone to come up with an issue they'd like to speak about if they do not have a case number. Is there anyone here tonight who does not have a case number?
Awesome.
All right, then we will move on to the first case, which is case 210974. It's a return case on Bronson's Way.
It's just how much.
This is a previously approved design, and there are several changes here that I want to call your attention to.
Are you the architect or the homeowner?
I am the homeowner. The architect, unfortunately, he was available for the previously scheduled meeting, couldn't be here for the reschedule.
Okay. All right, would you like to describe the changes that are being made?
Yeah, sure. So the first change, and it is illustrated on the final page of the design unit, there's page SP1.0. It is just an adjustment to the dimensions that utilizes the variance to the 50-foot setback requirement. That variance was granted by the Twinsburg Board of Zoning Appeals on September 22nd of last year. So you can see that illustrated where you see the 50-foot setback, and you see that it's 3 feet past that, which is variance that was granted.
Okay, so is there a change to the footprint of the building, or are you just informing us that the variance was granted?
Well, when we came here for approval, we did mention that we were waiting to have that zoning board review, and so we didn't want to change place until we had that approval.
Okay.
So it is a change to the footprint that now takes advantage of the variance that was granted.
I see, so we have 45 foot, 5.5 inches setback.
It's the setback to the backyard there.
It's the backyard setback we're looking at?
It's the 50-foot rear yard setback.
Okay.
It's right on 3 feet, it takes advantage of about 2.5 feet of that, so it doesn't utilize all of it.
Okay.
The second is an adjustment to the south-facing windows and roof of the sunroom portion of the addition. That you can see on page 84.0. And the purpose of that change is just to allow more light into the sunroom and allow really improve the look of the south-facing portion of the covered patio.
It says painted 1 time, wrapped 2 times. On the face, it's called out as painted 1X, wrapped 2X. Do you know what that means for the finish?
I don't, I'm assuming that's just referring to those rafters.
Is that wood trim on that? Is that what it
It's
is?
either going to be wood trim or
They're gonna
wrap
paint it
it
then,
aluminum.
same.
We're still going back and forth on that. Carpenter beams are pretty aggressive back there, so we may cover that in aluminum.
Right.
It's got the same matching color as the rest of the aluminum.
Right, yes.
So it'll be the same color as the columns, if that's a white type of trim?
Yeah, that's right. And it's the
Okay.
same aluminum trims around, all of the eaves of the house. And the columns in the front of the house are all the same color.
And the underside of that will be finished? That-
We're probably going to expose the wood over there. We're still talking about that. That may be covered in aluminum too. It's back to the same discussion about cover the beams. You have a field day back there.
Okay. Okay, I found it on the section, you have it as all side vinyl charter oak soffit with concealed vents. So it is a finished surface. Okay. Okay, and then another change?
Sure. The next change is to the upper windows on the west facing extension of the existing family room. You can find that on page A4.2. And the only change there, as you can see, with those windows marked as E, E, and D. Now match the windows that are on that south facing portion, so they have the same look.
I think that's improvement. That looks nice.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. And then one of our issues before we had discussed was the roof.
Right, that was going to be the last change I was going to mention, is the recommendation on conditional approval, what we received last time, is unify the materials on that roof over the addition, either all metal or all asphalt, but don't have two different kinds of materials. So if you look at page, see A0.3, that is found in unified all asphalt.
Okay. And one other thing we had noticed that it seems like has been corrected was the height of the porch. Noting that it looked very low, I can see that you've moved the porch roof, where it used to be a 6'8" ceiling in the porch, which would mean that your doors would scrape the ceiling, a standard 6'8".
Yeah, dropped to 7 inches, so you can step down out of the porch.
Right, you dropped your foundation lower, and then you've opened up the ceiling, which would give you the clearance to open your doors.
That's right.
If what you have drawn on A 7.0 is correct, you couldn't open your door further than 90 degrees if it opens out. I'm not sure if it opens out or in.
Let me get to that page, 7.0.
Yeah. I don't know if we have a plan that shows door swings. It looks like your door opens in, so you would be okay.
Yeah.
Actually, if there's, the door opens in. You could only open it 45 degrees outward if you had a screen door on there before it would scrape the ceiling. Okay. In the Ohio Building Code, they state that you're above a 7 foot now, aren't you, for the ceiling? Okay. Ohio Building Code has all occupiable spaces being 7 foot unless it's a kitchen or a laundry room. Or a bathroom, and those are allowed to be 6'8". So, right, but so this is, right. So that's good that you've moved that down, that corrected that. I don't know that that was any part of our conditions, but I had noted it when looking at the plans, so. I think that these are improvements over the previously approved set of plans. So does anyone have any discussion?
Good. I'm good with everything. I think it looks good the way it is now. I like it.
Yeah, I think it's an improvement.
I can do it.
And it's a better house now, yes.
You're not calling everybody.
I'm not gonna call individually. Do you have any discussion? Okay, then I'll ask for a motion.
I think you made it. I don't know.
Anyone's,
Okay, I'll move to approve it as submitted.
I'll second it.
Okay, we'll call for a vote.
Mr. Midlick,
Yes.
Mr. Sharma,
Yes.
Mr. Gillen,
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Markovitz.
Yes.
Okay,
Thank you
thank
very
you, you've
much.
been approved.
Appreciate your time.
Thanks.
Doing things properly is I see that's actually answered to God.
I agree.
Okay. Our next case is case 220414. It is on Ravenna Road, Onyx Health Club.
See the size variance.
Hello guys, how you doing?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, the sign is huge.
Would you like to describe your case?
Yeah, I think that we have a sign variance that we're asking for. And I apologize, my sign guy's he was supposed to be here at the last meeting, and he told me that the meeting is today, he was notified, so I came, I knew that we submitted all the drawings. I think the issue was that we have two businesses in that building. It's two different storefronts, and I own both of the businesses. So one is Honest Health Club and one is Real Pro Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. But we have 3 locations now that we just combine them in one. So that was the first, I think, problem, that we have 2 signs. And then the second problem was, I think that the sign is larger than was approved for the city for that space. And then the third issue was that the landlord had previously put a set of rules of what kind of signage she wants in there that does not match that sign, but the rules were put together by the previous landlord, so it wasn't this landlord that we have now. So
Okay.
that's why we're here.
Okay. So the first thing is are there 2 different businesses occupying this?
So it is, I own both of the businesses, but yes, it's 2 separate businesses, but they're under one umbrella, because one is Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, it's a martial arts school,
Okay.
and then one is a health club. And the way that space was before, there was already a martial arts school there before. I think it was a karate school or something like that. And so we pretty much just did the same process. So we replaced our karate sign with our jiu-jitsu sign, and we replaced the Alpha Legends sign with our Honest sign.
So there were 2 signs in this location previously.
Yes, ma'am.
And so when you replace them, you replace one sign for your one business, you replace the other sign for your other business. Do you have 2 separate entrances?
Yes.
And is the space divided on the interior?
Yes, ma'am.
So these function as 2 separate tenants? You just happen to own both?
Yes. I leverage one business because it kind of go hand in hand. Because when parents come in and they see that the kids can take martial arts, so they do that and they work out at the same time. So we have a great synergy going on. So that's kind of how we do. We do our Fairview location that way, and this our Twinsburg location. We actually have a school in Beechwood as well. But yeah, that's kind of how it's set up.
Okay. If these businesses are operated independently from each other, I mean, I know that you can, it's a good balance to have them next to each other.
With the accounting and structuring the business, is that where you're kind of going?
Right, if you are filing as 2 separate businesses, despite the fact they're owned by the same person, I think that qualifies them to have, and do you have 2 separate leases on the property?
No, it's one lease, so that's where I think legally, you just have to make sure that it has its own entrance and its own, because on the back end, it really doesn't matter how it's, how we pay our taxes or how we have a lease set up, because again, at the end of the day, I try to leverage as a one deal, with the landlord. So hey, we're taking over both of the spaces, but then we utilize, the space for one business and the other. So I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I know
I'm not an expert in the law side of it, but
Yeah.
we can move forward and make this contingent upon the approval of the law director, not at this moment because this is not his meeting, he happens to be sitting in. As long as you're considered 2 businesses, then I think we can approve 2 signs.
Sure. Right now it has 2 because we're the anchor on the gym side because it's 2 different storefronts, 2 different sign abilities. So it's set up just that way. It has 2 different entrances, demising walls again. The only thing that they did previously, which we just kept, there is a door that will connect both of the spaces on the back end. So there it is. So that's the only connection.
All right, we'll move on from that point.
Okay.
We'll assume for the purpose of discussion that there are 2 businesses here with 2 separate signs. The small sign, the Rio Pro,
Yes.
is that sign within the allowable area?
Yes, that one is.
Okay.
Or square footage, yeah, signs, yeah.
I think it's a nice looking sign. Moving on, we'll come back. Moving on to the monument sign. you're just replacing an existing face with the Onyx Health Club 24/7
Yes, ma'am.
in the monument sign?
Yeah, no changes.
And it's not internally illuminated, it's just a vinyl
We just
graphic?
replaced the film on it the way it was.
Okay, I think that that is a nice looking sign. I would be okay with doing those two signs. The issue is going to be this very large sign.
So, so if you look at, again, the Alpha Legend sign, they had a similar size sign, but there was a, if you call it, I think it's called the back panel, the panel sign. Ours is channel letters, and when we sit, 100 yards off, or it's more than 100 yards off the street, it's hard to see the channel letters. And everybody in that plaza, I think that has, I'm assuming, don't quote me, I'm not here to say that they got it and we should get it, but it seems like a lot of them got variances because, again, it just seems like a much larger, according to what their storefront linearage and so forth, according to ours. So again, that's the only thing, is just, it was really hard because we showed both of the, kind of what my sign guy was doing, we showed both of the options, which are very small.
It's a great sign.
I got a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Are you using the front entrance for the Rio Pro?
We are or we're not, so it depends on, because right now, the way we do it, we have that ability, because again, legally it has that, so that's a sort of storefront, but for us to, number one, right now, we're short-staffed, so we try to funnel everybody through Onyx and then be able to go there. Once we get staffed up to where we need to be at, yes, it's both entrances, but we can't be occupied, so we just use it kind of both ways.
When determining your storefront square footage, do you have this, this is a small picture.
I see what you're saying, the linear.
Do you have this entire building here, or do you only have the space?
No, I have 30,000 square feet. I have an entire building going all the way back. So I have the building there for one side where the Dollar General pretty much the corner ends.
Right.
And then I even have it deeper than that because I have.
It's
my
all of it.
building goes this way also.
Yeah, so if you look at it, it goes all
It goes beyond Dollar General.
Right, I can see the roof line continues
All the way,
past
yeah,
Dollar
yeah.
General and continues on. Do you know if that area was included in your square footage first?
I did not. It was an old TJ Maxx sponsor that was like,
Right.
it was huge. So it's that's what we took. And I think we're, positive business for the community. It's not,
You are.
I hope it's not an ugly sign. I think it's
Actually,
not,
it's a very attractive sign. It's just slightly larger. If you had come in without the sign installed before the sign was manufactured, I'd probably say reduce it by about 10%.
Sure.
And then it looks like a very nice sign.
And I'll explain that issue, not to make any excuses. We were in a very it was a shaky situation. I don't know how many of you guys know the history of the club or kind of what happened during the transition. It was in the receivership. There was a lot of legal actions going on, and so when we came in and that deal was proposed to us, it was still going to the courts and during the receivership. And when I walked in, I saw kind of what was happening. The doors were wide open, there were no lights on, and people just throwing crap everywhere. Bathrooms were flooding. And I said, if I want to buy this business, I need to kind of secure it, make sure it doesn't go to crap by the time it goes through the receivership or through the courts. So we did a management agreement at that time, and we just started kind of just slowly getting things going, and it just happened. We didn't know when the timeline was going to happen, and it was just, everything was just a mesh. And we took over September for our management agreement. We didn't know if we were really going to get approved, and it just passed through. We just finalized it on last month on the 15th of the month. That it was official, we bought it, and it's now official. But during that whole process, it was just, I apologize, but yeah, my sign guy just kind of pulled the trigger and it got it done. I thought it was all put through. And
So did he install the sign without a building permit?
yeah.
Okay. And did he manufacture the sign for this particular location?
Yes.
Okay. Your sign guy should, if he's a professional, and this is a professional sign.
Yeah, and he's done all our signs.
He should have known to come through.
Yeah, he's out of Youngstown and he's done all of our signs. And I think that we just had a lot going on, and the ball got dropped, and I'll take all the responsibility for it. It's my fault at the end of the day, I'm the owner. So whatever we have to do, whatever penalty we have to pay, I understand. And just
Right, unfortunately, it puts us in the position, have you ever heard the it's better to ask for forgiveness versus ask for permission? It puts us as the people who have to decide whether or not we're giving you forgiveness or if we're going to make you take down your very
I can
expensive,
understand.
nice sign and put up one that's 10% smaller.
That would be detrimental for our business, I'll be, because again, it's, that wouldn't be good.
Do we have to grant a variance for this?
We would have to grant a variance for area because, and that's why I'm asking, because if we can prove that you actually have more square footage, more store frontage than was originally calculated, then maybe we can justify
What shows on that,
variance.
what shows on that, or measurement that the square, the linear shows?
It shows,
It doesn't. Does it?
Well,
we have,
the ordinance is 1.5 square feet for every linear foot of approved building unit.
linear,
But, yeah, linear. I don't know if that includes coming across and then, because the building and the linear would be this way, then the side coming out, and coming across the front, or the side going back.
I think it's just the linear front face. But what I'm wondering is, are we looking at, because the plaza building covers part of the front of his building? But you still see the,
The window space.
well, the window space, but the, I'm sorry, the coping at the top. You know, you've got that whole strip across the top. Is that considered linear footage? You don't see it on the ground, but you see it on the roof line. So there could be some discussion about that.
Well, typically, if I remembered all right from when I used to have to fight that, it's usually the linear storefront. You know, so you're usually taking the whole storefront and running it across.
So that would be the, at the ground level, the Dollar General edge to the end of the
Be on
building.
that linear storefront, yeah.
Okay.
And
That's on the
so, yeah, if you come out with the plaza and the covering out there, that's probably gonna be longer than the storefront. But I'm not sure how the code, the city of Twinsburg reads it that way.
Yeah,
Most of
read the. Go ahead, Jason, you have a question?
Across the country I ran into in the past have always been that way.
Yeah, if you look at the memo here, down at section number 2, I believe the first highlighted area explains what they consider, and it says the facade containing the main entrance.
Let's see here.
It says every linear foot of
It
approved
does.
building unit wall area. So how do you know what's the approved linear wall area?
Well, if you read on it, continue, it says the facade containing the main
It's a wall
entrance.
face.
So it would be the area that the main entrance is considered.
Okay.
So the wall would be from the ground up and not, you know, above
Well,
the main. Yeah. But we don't know what that linear footage is right now. We don't have.
It
a
is
plan.
56 and a half feet.
Oh, it's 86 and a half?
56 and a half feet.
Oh, 56.
What do you think?
for the variance? Okay, I'm good.
Yes. All right, is there any further discussion about this?
Yeah, are we actually approving the sign or just the variance? Because,
We would need to do both. We would need to make a,
Okay.
we would need to approve a variance allowing him to have more square footage than is allowed by code. And then we would need to vote on the signs for the aesthetic qualities and content of the signs.
all right,
I
So,
could move on the variance.
I can make a motion.
okay.
This is for the variance?
Yes. So I'll make a motion to approve for make adjustment to variance,
To grant the variance.
to grant the variance. I have a second.
Yeah, I'll second it.
Mr. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Midley?
Yes.
Mr. Gillen?
Yes.
Mr. Markovitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Reluctantly, yes.
Thank you so much.
And I'm a little reluctant.
And,
too,
I'll make a motion for the signs, if nobody has a question, to approve as submitted. Do I have a second?
I'll second it too.
Mr. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Midley?
Yes.
Mr. Gillen?
Yes.
Mr. Markovitz?
but yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes. I think the quality of the signs is nice.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Just be careful in the future.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're lucky.
You're on our watch list. Don't keep coming back with.
Going out there to look at it.
He lives right, this gym is right across from my house. I see it every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it look nice to you?
It's
a
big.
little big.
It's big, but
Yeah.
I mean, it's big.
That far.
But it is far away. But my problem is I see it every day.
Right.
Okay. All right. Second.
Why do I not have it right?
Another Mexican restaurant. Nice.
Mine are out of order.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the one.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay, the next case on our agenda is case 220416. It is at Haddon Road, Tulum signage.
Did you guys bring samples?
Building's coming along good, huh?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's been over a year, right?
Oh, it's been a couple
Yeah,
years.
a couple of years. Yeah. It seemed like yesterday. Yeah.
It's been a process.
It's a nice building.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah.
So you're here tonight for just signage?
Yeah, just signage.
So the letters are all individually set
Correct.
and they're backlit? Or like a halo light?
Yeah. So basically, there's a key light. This is the face of the sign, the face of the letter, looking sideways. There's a can off the back, and it's 2 inches.
Okay.
And there's a spot off the back.
So the actual returns, the sides glow or it shines on the building?
It's just signs on the building.
It just shines on the building behind? Okay.
So each letter has its own light?
Yes.
And the words Mexican restaurant are not lit, just affixed to the building?
Correct. It's cut on.
But the two underlines are bars on each end of that.
Yeah, those are both lit.
Yeah.
The edges on these letters, are they actually following the cracked profile? Do they actually cut on the edges? That's attractive. Very nice.
There's two signs.
I didn't know if they were just painted white after or if they're actually, the letters are cut like that.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah.
Is this your building or?
No, my name's Dan. I'm from Science 330. I'm just representing Jamie.
I think where we left off, you guys were waiting for some special tile all the way from Mexico.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be great.
Did it get there?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah, it's pretty high end.
Yes.
Okay. And then we have a monument sign. So there's two signs tonight, correct? The building?
There's actually 3.
There's 3.
Yeah.
2 of them are nearly identical.
Yeah, so
Yeah, secondary wall.
on the, where the page says proposed signage, the one on the left is the front of the building. And the one where it's the
Are you
side.
requiring the building numbers on the
Okay.
signage?
And they're nearly identical, it's just difference in sizes.
Right. One's a little larger, one's a little smaller. Okay, I see. Yep, 66 inches versus 60 inches. Okay. And then the monument sign, and that's double-faced,
Yes.
two-sided. Do you have the address on it?
Well, that's a good question. That's actually, I have a question for you guys.
Okay.
So, the address for this building is 8910 Haddon Road, which is the street that is behind the actual building.
I think we all.
So
It's not East Aurora Road.
it's not East Aurora Road, it's the road that's between your building and the BP.
Giant Eagle, or
wait.
Gecko.
Yeah, well,
The
there's a
Gecko,
side
yeah,
street.
Gecko.
Yeah, that's correct.
The gas station. It's between you and the gas station. That is the road that your address is on.
Yes.
Okay. And the location of this is on that, no, wait.
Location is on 82. The
Not on,
location-
but it's not on the side near that Haddon Road.
No.
Okay, it's not. Well, there's like that little side street.
It's between you and East Aurora, and you're closer to the on-ramp. I can see the image you have here. That's the proposed sign, that red dot.
Correct.
What if I just the building lot numbers, like 8910, and I don't have to worry about the street name?
And there's, the Sushi Inn is between you and Haddon Road?
Yes.
Okay. Then I agree that the inclusion of the numbers could be confusing to motorists if they're looking for addresses.
We won't miss a sign on the building like that.
Yeah,
Right.
I think it's fine.
Typically, we request that the address be put on the sign, but because I think that could be confusing, there's another building between you and your street. If you're driving up that road, that number could be, I think,
Confusing.
confusing to people, right, to motorists. So I guess I'm okay without the address on this one.
Yeah, I am too.
I'll make a motion.
Do we have any further discussion? Got to give everybody a chance.
Are you planning on putting a sign on Haddon for potential people trying to find? Is there a name for that street off of Haddon, or is that just an access road?
Just an access road.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a shared driveway between you and Sushi Inn.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I asked questions, I didn't know if maybe you wanted to start building vinyl on the sides of it, you wouldn't really be able to see it. This sits on the East Road 40 feet.
Yeah.
Right.
But it's definitely not going to be in the same numerical orders.
As the other ones around it, right? The reason for us putting address is for wayfinding, for people who, most people are using GPSs on their phones now, but some people aren't, and they, look for addresses as they drive down the street, and having a number that's out of sequence could be confusing.
And that is why we designed the sign without an address, because when someone's coming down East Aurora Road, as you said, and they see this address and then it changes again.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anything down here? David and John?
I'll go ahead and make a motion to approve as submitted.
Second
I'll
it?
second it.
Who seconded?
We got two of them.
Yeah.
No, he said go ahead and second it, so I think it's Michael. Are you seconding? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Mr. Markovitz?
Yes.
Mr. Gillen?
Yes.
Mr. Midlick?
Yes.
Mr. Sharma?
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes. Okay, your case is passed.
Thank you.
When you open? When's it open?
Used to be.
And what you thought?
Still a trade secret.
I'm surprised you remember some of the stuff in that case, yeah.
Next time, bring samples.
Yeah.
Yes.
Oh, that kind of samples. I thought you were talking about signage
No.
samples.
Food.
We want
Good
food
luck.
samples. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Like the building, it should be good.
No, I have this one out of order. It keeps coming back.
It's the one with the,
The, yeah, version.
this thing.
Right.
Yeah, more, yeah.
I keep coming to that one every time.
Which one is that? 1035.
Okay, the next case is case 220417 on Maryville Drive. We have a front porch addition. Okay, come on up. You're good, thank you.
Sorry about my phone. Everybody was talking about the sign. I went to go look at it, and as soon as I opened it up, there's a video of you guys on the sign. Yeah, shit. Sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah.
So, are you seeking approval on a porch that's already built?
No, so it has a front porch there now.
Yes.
It's just a stoop, about 4 foot by 5 foot with a shed style roof above it. He wants to continue it, like everybody else's house on the street.
So this is an example of a different property that
That's
you've
his
given us.
property, this one. That's the actual property with the porch. He wants to bring it over like the rest of the neighborhood.
Okay.
Just the other 6 or 10 feet or whatever it is.
So this is an extension of the existing porch?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I see you have matching the existing stone veneer. You have a composite rail. Vinyl soffit, you're extending the ceiling, you're extending the shingles. Will you match the existing home's overhang on that left side?
It will match the roof that's there now. Because there's a setback on that front porch off the side of the garage, it will continue over as the same way.
The amount that it extends past the house, it looks like your house, it's tough to tell because of the perspective view that we have, but it looks like you have maybe an 8-inch overhang. They should have been approved as 1-foot overhangs when this was built. Would you have that same overhang, or would you cut your porch back so that you don't overhang? Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was, can I go
Yeah.
show you? This is kind of a similar design on another house right next door. It doesn't mirror the upper.
Right, it looks very nice. Yeah, this was the little piece of here in the back is what I was wondering. If this extends beyond, you'll have like a little wing on the back that sticks out.
Yeah.
But if you bring this in, your foundation would have to step in slightly. So that's just what I was looking at there.
Yeah.
Whether this ends up, a flush with your wall and this piece extends out a little
I
bit.
believe there'll be about a 6-inch wing on the back side of that,
Okay.
just so the foundation matches.
So the foundation would continue
Yep.
straight. Okay. And you'll reinstall gutters
Yes.
tied into the existing drainage?
Yes.
Okay. Looks good to me.
Yeah, that's real good.
Do you have any questions?
I'll move on it to as submitted.
I'll second.
Mr. Midlick,
Yes.
Mr. Sharma,
Yes.
Mr. Gillian,
Yes.
Mr. Markovitz,
Yes.
Mrs. Frazier.
Yes. Further consideration, now that you've been approved, just as a design perspective, something to consider is if your new porch were to pull forward about 2 feet, it would give you more room to sit. Your roof line would drop back in.
Yeah.
Your gutters would already exist here, and you could tie a new one in.
We
And
did try to talk them into bringing everything, and
Forward?
it was a budget constraint, and to basically tear it all out, redo it, and bring it out, it added more to the price. He was comfortable with just adding the extra sitting space. So I know what you're saying.
it wouldn't be much more
No, it wasn't much more.
percentage-wise, because you're already pulling all the trades out there.
Okay.
As a designer, that's what I would do, because these porches aren't very deep.
No,
And in
no.
order to sit comfortably on them, people usually take the front rail back off. Otherwise, you can't really get into your
Yeah,
chairs.
they're 5 feet. That's,
Right.
That's the, yeah.
Right, and by the time you cut the columns in the 8 inches, you put your rail in, now you only have 4 feet. So you put a 3-foot chair on, and if somebody's sitting in it, you can't walk past them, you can't get onto it. So I know that it's a little bit more expensive, but it would be a much more comfortable porch if they were to do that. You could consider recommending it.
Yeah, I know we did, because the house a few doors down, I believe that I should show you a picture, it had the chairs and everything was pretty tight.
Yeah.
Hoping you could bring everything forward, just kind of comfortable with what it was, to be able to sit out there.
Yeah.
Teach their own.
Tell him to go visit his neighbors before he builds.
Right.
Make sure he likes it.
Right.
Okay,
Thank you.
have a good day.
I'm sorry, quick question. If I did talk them into doing that, would I have to be coming back for
Yes, but you know we're gonna approve
Okay.
it, so,
All right,
yeah.
thank you.
It might be a time extension, because they have, from the day that the association approved it, they have 90 days to have it built.
Okay.
You're right.
Have a porch that
you can't sit on sometimes.
I think it's 90 days. They said 60. It said it weird.
Must be constructed with, I think the idea is once they,
60.
of the date of this letter. Wow. Or they have to request an extension. Okay. Okay, we were notified that the following case would not be present tonight. Is there someone here tonight representing case 220418? That's at 9184 Darrell Road. Okay, then we will move on to the next case on our agenda, which is case 220419. That's at 2651 East Aurora Road, a ramp for ADA access.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. This is a very extensive ramp.
We asked, like, basically the way we anchor it down is what I want to basically, show. So the actual ramp, are these modular aluminum ramps. So I mean, put them together is not just securing them down and where they go. It's more,
Use tap times, is that what you use?
usually I would, but this is going to be,
Shield.
yeah, the problem is on the side of the building,
Yeah.
it's on like a hill, so basically what I'll do is I'll put papers down, and we got hurricane tie downs, which, put them basically, it's one of the backyard dog screw in.
Yeah.
We screw that in, and the wires come up. It's basically, I don't want to say it's going anywhere, but for commercial, like usually you tack hounds, there's tack hound legs in.
Yeah.
But it's not concrete.
Need the anchors, huh?
So we don't have to use the asphalt anchors for the part that's on the asphalt. It will
Right.
come back off past where that curve is.
Is that what you do? You build ramps, is that all you do, or?
We do chairlifts, vertical platform lifts.
So you always working with aluminum then?
Yeah, for the ramps, yes. Yeah, I don't really do the wooden ones just because
Yeah, I
we
get it.
live in Northeast Ohio and it's buzzing. And we have a ton of rentals that we do, a ton of residential as well.
Yeah, you rent out the,
Yeah, so I mean, it's like somebody,
They've been around it a lot,
for
yeah.
6 months. So we'll just rent them. And usually for the residential ones, if anything, I don't usually get a permit, if anything, I can just register with the city and pay the $100 or whatever.
So you got a
Say
couple
I'm a
turns
legit
on this one
company, I'm
too.
insured,
Yeah.
that kind of deal.
Okay. Sorry.
But I was just trying to make it
No.
clear that they would be tied down, because I was, back,
Yeah.
gentleman over,
Keith?
Pete. Yeah. And I met Pete, he's like, hey, you gotta tie these things down, you tie them down. All right, well,
Yeah.
let me, I'll get you all the,
Yeah, you know, yeah.
people are a lot smarter than me. Like, that's why he sent me to Ohio typicals.
Right.
Just so you guys knew what product you're using, because, I mean, as I was looking at it, it made sense to me that, I've never had any issue with them, so.
Yeah. It's no more work to put the shields in.
This is the current
What's
ramp.
that?
So it's not that much more work to
So
put
this
them
is this
No,
building here
it's
that's come
basically
through already,
stronger.
and then they have the
Yeah,
big
it's
sign
all
in the front that we had to grant a variance for.
I
Yeah.
remember, I've been there.
Yeah.
That's what their current,
I'm okay with that. It's an upgrade, so,
Steep grade.
yeah, it's an old,
Right.
yeah.
Just weather. But the commercial is a little different. Like, we've done some where we didn't tack on. I didn't want to put it in Midtown, municipal building. And they had just done all this new concrete. And they were like, you're not tacking it down.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, man, I'm kind of supposed to. And he's like, yeah, well, we're a municipal building, so you're, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, but
And so
that's,
they delayed it for 3 months. It was inside the construction area, so.
yeah.
I wasn't too worried about it. And like I said, that was a rental because they had construction. One of the judges was in a wheelchair.
Right.
So,
Any questions?
Okay, so I have a couple things. I'm trying to pull up the code for this. I know for interior ramps it's 1 to 12. I believe exterior ramps is 1 to 20, correct?
no, that's 1 to 12.
On an exterior ramp?
As far as, yeah,
Because I know ADA for code is 1 to 12, but that's interior, and I believe, oh, no. If you cross 1 to 20, it's no longer considered a ramp, it's considered an inclined walk, no longer has to have railings, no longer has to have a curb, so,
okay, yeah,
Okay.
that makes sense. So I was like, I never, yeah, 1 to 12 has always been.
although I think it's also,
But these commercial ramps are actually fabricated to where I can't cheat that.
okay,
I have to go like the way it's angled. I have to go 12 the way the ramp sections, like so that coming room, where that and where the railings tie in together, I have to go to 12 in one pitch. So I mean,
okay. And how long of a run can you do?
I do 30 feet before you have that rest stop.
Okay, and so you're not exceeding that,
Yeah, we're all, as far as all that goes,
okay.
And then we talked about the layout. We originally talked about having the stairs come off at that first platform. So we're coming off the existing deck that he has there.
You're leaving the wood deck?
We're looking,
Just a couple questions.
Sorry.
The top has been completely remodeled.
Yeah, so-
That was pretty much stable and all nice to have, but the platform is all the same. A resident I would end up putting up a chair for patients that don't want to sit inside, want a nice easy to sit outside and still wait for their appointment.
So that existing wood deck that's on the front left corner of the property is remaining?
Yes.
Will you be skirting the deck? Putting a skirt around the outside of it?
Yes.
Okay, because right now we're just seeing the posts go into the ground and you can see underneath it and you can't mow under there and then,
Everything was left just to make sure that they can get under and secure everything, and then it's all going to be covered up.
okay. I haven't studied the grades of your property, but one way to avoid having a large system of ramps is to adjust the grade, adjust the height of the ground in the back. Because then you could have a ramp coming down, maybe even 2 of them, but you might be able to get rid of the 3rd ramp if you're able to slope a sidewalk. Something to consider, so you don't have such a really long, zigzagging, wrapping run of ramps.
We've tried, we've talked to other contractors, it's just unfeasible with what our grade is. If we end up grading anything like that, it's going to ruin our entrance to the back entrance as well, and then it's going to be completely regrading pretty much the entire, back parking lot. So that's going to come
Okay.
much more difficult from all stages.
Okay. Sometimes it's feasible to do, or it might be a little bit more costly, but if it avoids a 3-leg, 4-platform ramp. I did one at the church on the square. Do you know the one with the tall steeple?
Yes.
I don't know if you've even noticed the handicap ramp there.
Yeah, we have to look at it.
Okay, because it's right around the corner from you. But we actually brought the grade up to it, so they only had to have about a 20-foot run of ramp. And then the rest of it is inclined walk below 1 to 20 slope. It's an idea for eliminating some of the length of the ramp.
Yeah, we did look into that. It's not conducive because it is a flat piece of ground. I think the church does have a grade into it, so
Right.
it's not conducive there. This isn't. It's a flat piece of property. Unfortunately, when the building was built, the door was high roof. I don't know why they designed it that way. The ADA ramp does meet the ADA specifications as it's laid out here. To meet the grades, we have to, put that extra leg in.
Okay. So, does anyone have comments to make about it?
Yeah, I was just wondering if there's any finish you're putting on there, if it's just the, just the aluminum look, or if you're painting it or anything.
it's just the aluminum.
Okay.
I'm not positive with the commercial, if we could get powder coated.
I'm not
I know
familiar.
that I know in the residential ramps, I've never ever had anyone powder coat it just because it's like doubles the price.
Yeah.
So it's they're like,
It'll still work
for it black.
Right.
I'm like, that's double the price. They pretty much say, you know what?
I know it does, and
So this is
I
a-
was asking for two reasons. One, to just
I mean,
get word,
I
and
told
the other,
people residential. What's that?
I was saying it could be a maintenance issue depending on
So this is-
how it's painted.
I told people residential, I'm like, hey man, get a can of spray paint. If you bought it, do whatever, you know, it's for the world. You know, but the
So this
problem
is just aluminum.
It's just aluminum.
So even though our images all look like it's painted black or gray, it's not.
That's just a black print of it. That's just an ink.
Yeah.
Okay, this is it's a shiny
Yeah, that
exposed aluminum.
I have a piece, I don't know, a piece of that, or I have a piece of our residential, it's not solid surface, that you can see, but that's a mesh extruded aluminum, so that's a little bit different, whereas this one's gonna be solid surface. I might have a piece of aluminum on it, but it's definitely, it's aluminum.
That's all I see. I'm around it a lot.
What's that?
That's all I see is just aluminum.
Yeah.
Once you powder coat, it's nothing's gonna stay on it after a while.
Yeah, well,
It's leather.
and that's why in rookies of Ohio,
Yeah.
your best bet is to just, you know, not complicate it too much.
I understand that for
And
sure.
aesthetically, I mean, people are always worried about, like, I don't want my house to look like a, you know,
Mhm.
like a amusement park. But everybody when I put them, they're like, yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah.
Kind of, they get used to it, they like it. I've never had any complaints of just aesthetic issues. But most of the time, people who need a wheelchair, they care less about aesthetics. And would, you know, they're just trying to get in.
I'm good with it.
I'm trying to see, at the tea house, they're about 4 doors down, they have theirs painted black. It
There's
kind
a
of-
couple different manufacturers.
There's the metal.
Is it commercial ramp?
It looks like
Oh, yeah.
the deck is gray, the rails are black,
It was more like a fence look.
right? Where
Yeah.
this one,
There's a lot of aluminum.
Yeah. It is.
they have
It
they
looks
do
like
have
a wrought
white
iron
house.
look that's not really iron.
Okay, I was gonna say, you know what, there is definitely a commercial you can,
Yeah.
I would have to talk to them. 'Cause I-
Like all fences aren't wrought iron no more, they're aluminum that look like it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or
Even
vinyl.
ones like, like I said, the black ones, like I said, the
Yeah.
price, you know, differential is better. With commercial, I would imagine it's gotta be even,
Yeah.
it's gotta be even more. But
They vinyl coat some of them too. Like
I
the,
think this is in the rear, pretty much in the back.
yeah.
yeah,
Side of the back,
well, yeah,
not in the
you're
front.
going down Road, you're
Yeah.
gonna see his deck, his nice, you know, with the
Yeah.
light.
The deck, we need to see deck drawings. The deck is not to code. You can't have a railing like that, especially at the top of an ADA ramp.
That's, is
Um,
that a current picture? You mind if I come on?
Okay, yeah, if you've made some modifications to it, is this current?
Oh, heads now.
Okay,
You should see.
Yeah,
He's got this thing looking sharp.
None of that is new.
okay.
Okay.
Yeah, the only image
Here's
provided
a
was this
better-
one.
Oh, sorry. But here he has the white.
Oh, yes, you've improved it greatly.
Yeah, that's
Trust
why I
me.
was-
Okay,
The picture's a lot better.
from what,
It looks a
from
lot-
what it looked like
Yeah,
when
it's
Google drove by there,
Oh,
yes.
okay, yeah.
You've made
It's
changes.
beautiful. That's why I was
And so
confused.
this is wider.
Yeah, we're only going by what
Heated
we
up
see,
nicely
yeah.
now, yeah.
So you're taking off these steps down,
So this
right?
and everything, the existing is gone, and then we're gonna connect to here, and then there'll be a little space here that he will fill in with that
Okay,
same decking. Like basically, once I have my ramp in place, he's gonna come through and just.
okay. Can you show me the columns and the rail again? Scoot over. Okay, because we need to skirt the bottom. So I think that should,
Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
that'll be a requirement after the ramp is completed to skirt the bottom.
Right, and that is the intent, it's just that
Okay.
we didn't want to do it until.
Right, and that's understandable, right?
Yeah, all that, so basically all that, like ugliness, that whole thing is gone.
Right.
And we're just coming off of that. So from the street, you're seeing his pretty thing. And you'll see, you'll see the
Yeah,
side of my.
from the street, we're really gonna see the one length of it. The rest of it's in the back.
Just for your information, the theme of the building is, it's a light gray and white trim, so you know, the aluminum look will fit into the theme of the building.
Okay. Okay. I think the motion should include skirting of the deck when they're completed.
You can make a motion now.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve it as noted, the note being that the deck will be skirted after the completion of the ramp project.
I'll second the motion.
We'll call for a vote if there's no further discussion.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Midlick?
Yes.
Mr. Gillian?
Yes.
Mr. Markovitz?
Yes.
Mr. Sharma?
Yes.
Okay, thank you, your project was approved.
Awesome, thank you guys.
Have a good night.
Yeah.
Yeah, what is this Harmony Social?
Used to be Rush Hour.
Oh, so this is a new restaurant?
They took over the bar. Remember the bar?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just a new bar?
Yeah, I didn't want to say.
Yeah, I've never been to the Rush Hour. I've been inside and I just walk away. Wonder Bins on liquidation, what's that?
It looks pretty.
I'm looking at the right
Oh,
one.
no, yeah, this one.
Oh, you're looking at the wrong one.
Why does this one keep coming up in my packet? I don't see it on the agenda.
That's been missed.
This
So
is the one we're skipping.
That's the one I'm skipping.
Okay, that's why I keep pulling it back up over and over.
Yeah. 10/7/35.
Okay.
That's the one. Number 7.
Our next 3 cases are all the same representative. So our next case is case 220415. That's number 305 on Ravenna Road.
Correct. So this is the old West Ellis Road. We're updating the current signs on the wall. So we made something social. So we're updating the market signs.
Why does it say Wandering Bin Liquidations?
That's the next one.
That's the next.
That's the place.
I have 3 cases. They're all.
Oh, they stapled it all together on a one sheet with this one.
Oh, did they?
The
Yeah.
first one would be this one.
Right.
I was gonna say,
Okay.
my signs are mixed up.
Are you rewrapping the existing sign or fabricating a new sign?
We're fabricating the new sign with the same.
Same dimensions? Right, I even noticed the corners around it. Okay.
Everything's exactly the same. I just replaced everything.
The old
Is it-
sign's already gone.
Yeah.
There's just a banner up for Harmony.
Is that going to be illuminated?
There's no light on it right now. They're only going to put a light on top.
Okay.
Next to the lights.
Is there going to be a sign? Okay.
That was proposed and that was.
Okay.
So the one that we're seeing ghosted out,
It's not
not even proposed, it's not on the building? Okay. I think it looks nice. Personally, I think the text is a little small for the size of the sign. They have a lot of extra blue space, but I don't see an issue with it.
I mean, my issue is if it's not being used, we should cut it down.
There's a banner up there right now.
There's currently a banner that they have up there.
Right, and that banner makes use of the full width of the sign, that now opens a little bit, but anyway, it's trying to get attention. But yeah, I mean,
The other reason we kept it the same size is if we keep the panel down, right, you're
Right,
gonna
right.
have the outline of the old sign, that's gonna be exposed.
Right.
That's gonna take your issue on that.
right, I think it's fine.
Okay.
I have no issue with it. So, I might have gone with a different graphic personally to use up more of the sign with my letters, but I think there's no issue with what's there.
Just so you
No,
know,
we can do
Harmony is the granddaughter.
And then you have a monument sign, polycarbonate panel, you're just changing out the name to,
Not for Harmony Social, this is for the next piece.
I see Harmony Social is on the sign though. I don't know if that was just a suggestion and it was in this
Oh, I'm
packet.
sorry, I don't have that copy, yes, I'm sorry, yes.
Okay, so we have a double-sided monument sign, you're changing the panel on both sides, Harmony Social.
Yep.
I would recommend just a slight amount of space between Harmony and Social vertically because the letters look like they're sitting on top of each other. So I would recommend just a little bit of space between them.
Okay, absolutely.
I agree.
So I'd make does anyone have other comments?
We have one more to go.
There's just the two signs then?
Just the two
Yep.
signs.
Okay. No, I'm good.
David?
No, I thought there were three signs.
Are there three signs on this building?
No.
There's three different signs.
Three different ones, but we're gonna make a motion for this
Yeah.
tenant and then for their own case, and then,
Okay.
do we have any other comments for it? Okay, then I'll make a motion to approve it as noted, the note being that on the monument sign, on both sides, the Harmony and Social will have a small amount of space between the words vertically.
You want it smaller or?
Just something in a line, something similar to what China Moon has above restaurant or Rosati's has above frozen custard. The Harmony Social, it could just be this rendering, made it look a little bit squashed, but it looks like the letters are pretty much sitting on top of each other, and there should be, I don't know, a half inch or something, or
Some
in
spacing.
between. Something similar to what is on China Moon and restaurant.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. So, that's my motion that stands.
I'll second.
Do you have a second?
I second.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Gillian?
Yes.
Mr. Markovitz?
Yes.
Mr. Midlick?
Yes.
Mrs. Sharma?
Yes.
I didn't get to say yes.
You motioned it,
Did I
right?
say yes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I believe so.
I feel like I just,
You might.
it's a yes for me.
Yes, I understand. Sorry if I said, I thought I led with
I don't know
you.
if my name got read, if I just forgot. Okay, all right. So then that case passed. So we'll move on to your next case, which is,
Counts once.
right.
If you voted yes.
I didn't need to vote twice, but I did. Okay. The next case is case 220420, which is at the same address, 10735 Ravenna Road. It's number 300. It's the Wonderland Bin Signage.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
We've been
Okay, right next door, this is the flat panel according to the ACM.
So they're behind the
the front entrance center of the building.
What kind of business is this?
It's like a, you know,
It's like the temporary.
they put things in bins and you go and pay $1 for this bin.
There's one on North Field Plaza.
It's kind of like a surplus store
Oh, okay.
there. Yeah.
There's a Ollie's.
Like Rex, a lot of this first day it's $8. Big prices, it drops it down.
Is it open for public right now?
I don't believe they're open yet.
Yeah, I don't believe they're open yet. I don't.
It's worth asking.
Yeah.
The signs behind the buttons of the window.
They're underneath the windows, the top windows, underneath the facade.
What they have existing, which is just a temporary.
Oh, that's a
That was
temporary
just a
sign.
Yeah, they put a banner up
Okay, behind the
currently in the
on
glass,
wall, yes.
up in the top.
Yes.
That's coming down when they put
Yes,
up this sign.
You put that up themselves.
Okay. It would be nice if they filled that,
I was thinking the same thing, utilize that window.
But that
yeah, put
lettering.
something behind it, some,
I think the goal is to have something there in the
Reason.
future.
yeah.
Reason.
And it shouldn't be a whole bunch of products. It should be some sort of graphic on the wall behind, or,
Yeah, it's a big wall.
Yeah.
And so, you know,
That was a supermarket at one time for Los Catalanos that didn't last long there. So, yeah.
I remember
So-
when it was Masaras.
I do too. I was here then.
the sign that they're proposing to put up, is this a hard sign?
it's an aluminum composite panel.
Aluminum composite panel. So there's like a frame that's built into the fascia here where it, you know what I mean? It's about a 3-inch frame, top and bottom. And it looks like you're just going right over that instead of setting inside of it.
We can go inside of it, but it makes the letters a lot smaller, and the distance from the road, as everyone else was, the previous case said, it's really hard to see. You know, the lettering would actually be, right now the sign is 3 feet, it would be closer to 24, 26 inches, the height of the lettering would be. So it would make the sign a lot smaller. Yeah, I understand what you're saying.
It cheapens the look to me to have it go over that trim. It looks like a temporary sign that didn't fit, that was, you had it from another location and you just put it up. It doesn't look like it was,
I mean, we can certainly
Designed to-
to fit flush within the frame. I mean, that's not an issue. The only thing it's going to cause is just makes the lettering smaller, that's all.
right. And to keep their same font, it's a very light stroke.
The letters the way you're proposing it, or what, like about 24 inches and 18 inches or something?
Yeah, the overall panel is 36 inches to cover the sock.
Yeah, I was talking about the letter heights, right?
So the letters themselves are probably 20 inches. The top of the letter before it.
Yeah.
This is their logo, they designed it, we didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah.
Right.
I don't
Yeah,
know
they're
if a border
losing
would
some
look
height.
better around it, maybe.
Right,
Make the letters smaller though. Put a border around it.
I feel like it would look better if it's set in, and I see that there's probably 3 inches of white on the top and the bottom each. What if those were taken down to about 1 inch? You know, so there's still some white above the letters, but it's not as much. So that way the text doesn't have to shrink so much. The text would only be shrinking about 2 inches in height in order to fit that way.
They got my house in with the joke.
That's how I would probably recommend it.
Yeah.
I know it makes it a slight bit smaller, but they have all that glass above, and I think that they can do something with that.
Right.
It shouldn't be big signage in the glass, they'd have to come back. But I think that they can do something that will artistically attract people to their location. Otherwise, the sign, I think it looks cheap when it's just tacked on top of the features of the building.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, I think we're pretty well.
Yeah.
It looks awkward the way it is.
Yeah.
Right, and if they wanted
It
it,
doesn't catch my eye.
they can get more length on the sign. If they wanted to add a logo with it, you know, an image, sometimes that helps attract people to the sign. If they wanted it to be longer, they have more length to work with.
Right.
So I would make a motion to approve, wait, we didn't talk about I know what my motion would be, my notes would be for that one. We can come back to it again one more time, but
Monument sign.
the monument sign I think looks fine. Any comments on the monument sign or the other sign?
No, I think that's
I think it
fine.
looks better than that, actually. It kind of stands out a little more than the one on the actual.
Than the one that's on it
building.
right now?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's missing something. The letters don't catch me at all.
I mean, it is what it is, it's a junk store. You know,
As long as they
so-
have a nice sign that doesn't detract from the plaza?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a Goodwill right next to it, so.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll make a motion to approve the signs as noted. The note being that the sign on the face of the building should fit within the framework of the soffit. So the sign will be getting smaller height-wise. The letters will get slightly smaller, but the white space around will be reduced to approximately 1 inch, top and bottom. And the sign can be approved that way. If they would like to extend the sign in length and add something else to it, you'll need to come back because we'll have to see what they're adding on.
Okay.
But that's a way that if they're reluctant to make their sign smaller, that's a way that they can get more presence.
Okay.
And anything that goes in the windows above that is signage would need to come through. Yeah, I don't know what we can do about items in the window, but I know if it's signage, they have to come back.
Correct, yeah.
So if it's graphics, they need to come back. So, okay.
Very good.
That's
I'll
my motion.
second.
You second it?
Thank you.
Mrs. Fraser?
Yes.
Mr. Midlick?
Yes.
Mr. Gillian?
Yes.
Mr. Markovitz?
Yes.
Mr. Sharma?
Yes.
Okay, and then our final case of the evening is case 220421. And that is at 10683, number 2, Ravenna Road. It's 6 City CPR signage.
Correct. Right down the street. So we're basically replacing the existing panel. So right now they just have it sign. We're just going to replace it. So everything is the same dimensions, same everything. Just putting their name.
Can I see that too?
Yes.
6 City CPR. What kind of business is this?
They train people to do CPR.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's, I had to look it up. I wasn't in the business in 6 City CPR.
It's time, okay.
But they basically sell CPR equipment and they'll train, they'll certify you to CPR.
Gotcha.
Or actually, they'll certify you to train.
Okay.
To train other people.
Okay.
It's where
Six City is the, Cleveland at one point was a
Right
six
across from
largest
my
city. So
They're not
Correct, yeah. I had to Google it when it came through too, so.
You know what I mean?
There's something
Right,
certified
yeah.
anymore.
Emergency.
It's, get recertified every year.
So does, camera sign, button sign on the street, we just remodular.
Is this an illuminated sign?
The cameras, both of them are illuminated, but we're not touching them on the street basically.
Okay. Yeah, it would have been nice if there was some sort of logo or graphic to it to help give you more of a clue what it is. I mean, it's clear it says CPR, but I don't see any issue with the sign. It's clear text. It's a simple background. It's an existing cabinetry, so I'd make a motion to approve it as submitted.
I'll second it.
Mrs. Frazier?
There's
Yes.
another sign.
We saw that. Oh, did you not? I saw that too.
There's
The cabinet.
Monument.
The monument. Right.
Yeah.
It's
I was
just
surprised they got the top spot on the monument. Such a small.
instead of tortito tacos, because we were the front people, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they won't give them those, so. I think Anita's used to be at the top as well,
Yeah.
so they're taking the existing spot.
We'll have to have somebody buy it off of them if they want them to switch.
Yeah, yeah, maybe I'll.
My motion for the two signs can stand.
Mrs. Frazier?
Yes.
Mr. Sharma?
Yes.
Mr. Gillian?
Yes.
Mr. Markovitz?
Yes.
Mr. Midlick?
Yes.
Okay, your case is passed.
Okay, thank you so much. Real quick question on the windows, because I'm not actually done this under a previous order.
Yeah.
Right.
So if they do something on the wall and not the windows, what's the difference? I mean, like we put graphics on windows all the time.
Right.
Wall, when we put graphics on the wall behind the window, that's kind of considered internal. I don't know how that.
Or is it a second facade? I mean, I think that comes up to interpretation. And we've had some issues with people doing things like that. For instance, Odessa Jewelers, their signage was all unapproved here, so he put it on the inside of the glass, which I don't think is legal, but I don't know. It's still there. All of the signs that we said no to, but they're on the inside of the face of the glass.
Because I know we're trying to figure out what to do with that. Our initial proposal was to put something on the window.
Yeah.
I think you could put something really nice there. Kent State came to us and they had issues that we had to talk about with what is considered a logo versus what is considered building architecture. And I think this is the same type of issue. And so I'd recommend coming in. We're very reasonable people. And as long as the graphics don't look like big words and it's not filled up with just a bunch of junk that's, unsightly, if they're trying to make a pretty picture. There's somebody down on Route 91 heading toward Hudson that has graphics of like the world or something. Do you know which building? Or am I thinking of the one heading toward, no, it's over near Dutton Drive. That's heading toward Macedonia. But there's one that has like graphics of the world.
Oh, it's
on the glass.
they're a sign company, I believe, a graphic company.
That's that wrap company.
Right, they wrapped all the windows and it looks like the world and it's.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, there are other examples of people who've done extensive work in their glass. And I know gas stations have come through with extensive graphics in their glass stickers. So I'd recommend submitting it and coming through. Like I said, we're usually reasonable. If it seems like too much of a sign and they've exceeded their square footage, then I don't know that we could do that. It might have to be something that's more of a color thing. But
You could be there graphics on the wall back there, nothing.
Right, and that's why when I'm trying to get better documentation, right? Typically when we do something on the inside of the wall of the foyer, for example, that's considered internal signage. I don't know if that discussion is the same.
Does anybody remember what was in there before? All I remember is.
Well, that was Catalanos when they tried to go big and then they split it up into a couple buildings.
No, I mean, it's far in these windows area. What was other than just people putting
There was a Catalano
up?
sign at one time. Yeah,
Okay.
They had
big script sign.
like some sort of food graphics, like,
Okay.
fruit and stuff, but real large, but it wasn't real bright colored, it was subdued. So it was just barely seen. And then I think they had a sign up in there too.
Yeah.
With that as the background to
Yeah, they were, they moved from Mayfield to here. It didn't last long.
it. But
Yeah.
no big flashing lights and stuff that goes off.
my recommendation would be to bring it through because at worst,
Yeah.
you know, we have to say that's a sign, you can't do that, it doesn't look good. At best, you know, it's just, oh, okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, well, we wanted to do was going to be really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, do something like that.
On the inside to basically make it like a room.
The font to me didn't fit I don't think it's bad font, but I don't think it fits like a store like that.
Right.
And this so it doesn't catch my eye as,
Right, yeah.
it
then
looks
you
like what I
do
would see
something.
like on a law firm or something, you know. So
Yeah.
put something
So
fun up
hopefully
there.
they can do
Thinking
something
about
fun
the
up there,
sign.
and
Yeah.
there are illumination
Onyx.
levels with signage,
No, I'm
and
rethinking about the
so if
sign
you do a lot of
being
illumination up
onyx.
there, you might want to research into that, what levels of illumination.
Just like you put up the sign.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know if you were talking about really glowing and
Yeah.
okay, because if you're doing that, there are certain
Oh, yeah,
levels
for sure.
of light. Okay,
Okay, well, thank you.
thank you.
Because I'm always like, okay, well, at least now it's not that money.
Okay, sitting out on the desk here, we have colors for pet suites, but we don't have the drawings with it to see where the colors are on the building. I didn't know this would be here tonight. I don't know. if
They dropped it off, and I didn't know what you guys, if you wanted to, if you still had the paperwork
I haven't
from
been,
the initial meeting.
right, I think we
If
would need
not, I
to get
can
the
bring
elevations
it,
again.
I can
next
bring
time.
it next meeting then,
Okay.
just to look at.
Right, because just looking at it offhand, these three colors because they had, the last time they came, we approved their building except with questions on the color choice of the materials because they didn't have samples and the renderings were very small. I mean, the elevations were only this big. And it was really hard to tell what the colors were. And so we asked if they could provide samples so that we could see what the materials are to make sure that there's a difference between the different materials to see colors. And as you can see here, these three look almost identical.
From a far distance.
This one
yeah.
has texture, this one's flat, this one's slightly darker than that one. That's called ash, that one's called ash charcoal.
Yeah.
That one's obviously different. And then we've got white fence, that's nice and bright green. That's, so I don't know that you're gonna really catch the difference between these two.
You can't.
Flat versus textured, I think we can see difference, but I think we need the elevations back to talk about it.
I agree.
Okay, yeah, I'll bring it.
What's that?
I'll make sure I bring it there.
Okay,
On
so,
cloudy days, it'll be hard to see. On sunshiny days, you'll see it because the texture will pick up shadows.
right, you'll pick
dark.
that, but then these two against each other, I don't know if it should be just even just a slight step darker, a slight step lighter.
Put it in there so we don't forget
It's
it.
so close. I don't know.
Yeah, I'll put it in here.
Okay, put it in our
Most of
drawer.
our
Yeah.
days here-
Okay.
I'll try to get it by the next
Yeah.
meeting.
Thank you.
Cloudy and wet. Cleveland, cloudy and wet.
Okay, so then,
Pure sunshine.
You gotta do it.
remember to set aside the case that wasn't here tonight, to bring that back with you next time? Okay, because they'll likely be here next time.
Yeah, please, if you do get rid of it accidentally, please let us know in advance so we can get the
another
correct paperwork
copy.
for
These
it.
plans are gonna still be.
Oh, we're taking it with us?
Say again?
Yeah, so they don't have to
Yeah.
reprint for everybody.
Okay.
If they had submitted one.
When do we sign?
If they're not submitted,
After
I
the
don't
meeting,
understand
he
the
passes it
question.
down and I sign, and then actually,
Plans that they've already
I have a point to make too
submitted,
with that.
one's Donna's office.
I have a few things to do still, and we still have the minutes.
Email we got, we were asked to keep these and bring them to the meetings. And I was wondering, changes.
To bring up what you were saying earlier about second guessing.
I don't know until we get the new plans. So
I
just,
understand.
it may be one page is changing,
You know, the guys.
or maybe all of it. So if we can just keep it and then you can compare it there.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
Just some kind
I mean, first of all, you guys, this first of all, you broke the law. You know, the law is clear, law is law, so. I mean, I just. I
Okay,
felt bad for
Right, exactly, yeah.
question I had
Because I go to the gym and kind of know that.
was when we signed the drawings, we don't sign the drawings. When we signed the paper that you have that we are now doing instead of signing the drawings and stamping the drawings.
this here?
Yes. Could I see a copy of it just to see what it says?
Yeah.
These are the ones from the
evening.
I love making the motions too.
Okay. Okay. So it says building division.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, we did adjust that.
Yeah, my question was, on previous meetings, we had chairman and secretary were supposed to sign it, but then the building department was signing where it said secretary. And the secretary elected was Viraj. And so I just wanted to see, and I mentioned it at the last meeting, and I see it's been corrected for today. So it says chairman and then building department. And then you're signing where it's for building department.
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, the building division.
And I didn't look back at the ordinance to see if we can change it to building department or if it needs to have the secretary's signature also. That's something to consider. I don't.
That was an oversight by me, in the
Okay.
sense that I put the secretary down to signal Jason.
Okay.
And then Jason informed me that he is not considered the secretary here in Twinsburg for
Right.
the commission. So he brought that to my attention, and then I revised it to put his name on there. And I did that based on the fact that there wasn't any specific instruction in the ordinance that I found about what needs to be on the decision sheet. But what I wanted the decision sheet to memorialize was that both the building department signed off on it and the ARB signed off on it.
Okay, that sounds good. I just wanted to clarify that because
Yeah, great
I
question.
saw something interesting there. Okay.
Yeah, one day it looks this way, and then that.
Well, we used to stamp the drawings and it went down the line and everybody signed it. So in that case, it really didn't, everybody was already on it. So it didn't matter who you were eliminating or who had a title or anything, we were all on there. But now if we're only doing 2 people sign it, I wanted to make sure the right 2 people and that it was recorded who the person was that was signing it.
Yeah, for sure.
So, okay.
If 2 people sign and one person's not there, then somebody else has to sign.
Whoever is acting as the chair for the meeting would be signing it then.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's correct.
and we could note the name of the person on there.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, we would actually write that on the decision sheet. So if you were the
Acting
chair
chair.
pro tem or the acting chair,
Chair pro tem. I like
Yeah.
that term.
that would be designated on the decision sheet. You'd sign above that with your name.
Okay.
Did I sign that when I was acting chair that one?
We'll even give you a copy. Signal from day, either when you were the
You
acting
should
chair.
have.
Compare it with the minutes.
So we may have been doing stamps at that time still. I believe we were still doing the stamps when you acted that day.
Oh, okay.
So I think everybody just signed it anyway.
All right.
Okay, so then we have some meeting minutes to approve. So let's start with last meeting, which was March 17th. The meeting, I know, it was a month ago.
Yeah.
I read through them.
Yeah, we had unanimous motions, no real discussion, all the motions passed unanimously. The case that had some funny conditions, I think read right. So, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as submitted,
The March 17th.
March 17th.
They did. You're good. Don't get too loud.
Mrs. Frazier,
Yes?
Mr. Midley,
Yes.
Mr. Gillian,
Yes.
Mr. Markovitz,
Yes.
Mr. Sharma.
Yes.
Can you sign this one too? Okay, and then we had minutes that were still outstanding, waiting for revision from February 17th. I don't believe these were sent to us.
The 17th minutes.
Correct. Were those
What-
sent to, did you?
Emailed.
They were in an email. One of the, somewhere buried in one of the 3 or 4 emails we got about the
Okay.
I missed
The
it
meeting.
probably. Which is pretty easy.
I looked through it, but I couldn't remember a lot of what went on 2 months ago. So,
Was that back on the coffee house at the house or addition?
but that was the
No, that-
odd one where we had to amend the minutes in the
Yeah.
next meeting.
Yeah, got lost in the shuffle.
If you'll give me just a moment, I'm rereading it. Would you like to read it at the same time?
I saw them on the email. Straightforward stuff, huh?
Yeah.
You got to look at. Yeah, that's, so see, I'm a,
People doesn't know what we did.
stuff like this come across, not this particular
motion like this case, but stuff like this has come across, and I've like, there was one time this guy wanted to put metal roofing on downtown. We wanted to
Okay,
put more
so
commercial.
there were some things that were fleshed out, but they weren't some of the things that we had, that they weren't all the things that we had concerns about and that we had asked to be reflected in the minutes. We're still missing all discussion about the 25% addition policies. That's still, all it says in the minutes is additional concerns were discussed regarding the 25% addition policy. None of our concerns are actually recorded in the minutes.
I don't even know if they're doing that yet.
So
It's
it's
my
interesting
understanding
that no matter how many times we say it, it doesn't get recorded in the minutes. Even when we said we weren't approving the minutes because it needed to have some record of our discussion of it, that's all we get is additional concerns were discussed.
Which parts do you want to put in there? Because you could make a motion to them. You could move to approve it with the condition that
We did.
X, Y, and Z are added in.
Right.
I will say that, just for the board's edification, minutes don't have to be verbatim in the state of Ohio, but you can approve it with the condition that certain things are added, and then that would direct the staff to add in a couple things, and they would do that. Wouldn't have to come back to you. You know, they would add in X, Y, and Z, and then it'd be considered approved. So if there's anything specific about a discussion that you want to add in, that's one tool you can use to not have to keep coming back to it.
I know.
You know, meeting after meeting.
And now that it's been 2 months since we've had this meeting, I know that the meeting minutes can't reflect things that weren't said in the meeting, so I feel like I'd have to go back and look at the tape of it to make sure. Reading over it, I'm not seeing the comments I believe were said, and so I'm not comfortable
Then if that's the case, you
approving
can
it.
make a motion to continue the, this, what's the
Right.
date on it? I apologize, but move to continue the review of the minutes to the next
What's that?
meeting, or frankly, you don't
Maybe
have
by
to
the
make
end of
a
the year we'll
motion,
get
they
this.
will automatically come back. I mean,
Okay,
this isn't-
they're gonna come back next
Well,
month because
yeah.
they're not approved yet, or next meeting. I will make the motion to,
25% was what you were talking about with that whole thing was
Yeah, we-
the square footage addition
Stains and
Right.
of an existing.
That's what I would recommend. Yeah, it's you
25%.
You get to sit this decision out.
right, our concerns, I know this went through council. We were not notified that there were changes being made. We did not have an opportunity to voice any of our concerns about that. So we,
Legislative changes?
yes, there were changes to the ordinance?
The ordinance.
Yeah, the ordinance was actually changed, and it didn't come to us before that happened. We were notified after it had already been read in council 3 times, went through. Then it was brought to us in January saying this is the new ordinance that is in effect. And at that point, we brought up at the very next meeting concerns that various people had, including the 25% additions. So the idea is that the building commissioner can approve projects or send them here on his discretion if it's less than 25% of the square footage of the property.
That's all as I understand it, the jurisdiction of the ARB was modified by the council.
Correct.
Last year, I believe is when that happened, correct?
Right, it went through in December.
December, correct?
Right, and we were notified in January after it had already gone through. And so we had never had an opportunity to voice any concerns before it was passed. And so we wanted to voice some concerns on the record so that it was noted that these concerns were voiced. And every time we try to say it, we are shut down by somebody saying that we're not allowed to talk about it. And I've been completely talked over. I've been told that I'm not allowed to speak. And that's been very frustrating because this is our board and we are trying to just express concerns where we see some loopholes maybe, and that could be problems for the city in the future, such as it doesn't talk about commercial versus residential, and a 25% addition on a residence, an average 2,000 square foot house, which most houses are 2,000 approximately, you know, some are a little smaller, some are a little bigger,
Sure.
but they could get a 500 square foot addition without coming through this board. And an average 2-car garage is 20 by 20, which is 400 square feet. That means any house could come to the city with a 2-car garage addition and be approved without coming to the ARB. Now, it would be the building commissioner's discretion to send them here. But it's of concern that he does then have the right and the power to make all of those decisions himself. Every front porch he could approve, every sun porch, every rear addition. On commercial properties, it doesn't say if they're on a highly visible street, if the addition's on the back or the addition's on the front. He does have the right to approve a 25% addition on the front of a building by himself or on the side. And so I just think that we thought that that was concerning, that there was no language that protected the public from one person making the decisions. That's why there's a 5-person board. I can think whatever I want and vote however I want. There are 4 other people who can say, no way, I'm voting that through. Why is she so picky? But there's one person making all those decisions, and we thought that was concerning. These are not in our minutes, and I think that that's important that our board noted that.
Look, now it's going to be in these minutes.
It's going to be in these minutes.
That's a big.
But we've said these things in 2. We've done it in 2 meetings, and they don't come
and approve
through.
it
Right.
in the next set. Well, I would say, I mean, whenever I hear stuff like that, I mean, you are all residents of the city. You have the right to come to the council meetings, you know, and stand at the podium and say, hey, as I understand it, X, Y, and Z was passed. And I just want to tell you, here are my personal opinions as a resident on what I feel about this legislation and the changes that were made to the, you know, building code, planning code, wherever it may be. You know, you don't lose that right just because you're on, you know, a city land use board. But I will caution you, I always say don't take positions on things that might be relevant to what your docket is looking like over the next few months. So by that, don't, you know, show up and say, I want to do away with this zoning district. If, you know, there's an application that's coming through the planning commission to review and recommend whether or not, you know, the voters should consider a change in the zoning district. So I always advise stay away, but you have your rights as a resident to come in and say whatever you want and say, hey, I don't like this change. I'd like to see, you know, X, Y, and Z happen. I want these modifications. You know, you have that right to come on a Tuesday night and express your concern.
Okay. And Mr. Fury said I was not allowed to express my concerns during this meeting as a citizen because I'm a member of the board.
Well,
and I thought, isn't the board supposed to discuss?
Well, the board can take positions on things, but I would say that ARB isn't a advisory board for ordinance changes. So by that I mean the ARB isn't one of the boards that our charter says we submit proposed zoning changes or proposed building code changes to seek a recommendation from. So my guess is that's what he was saying. You know, the ARB's job is specifically delineated, and actually it sounds like, and I assume you are likely more than me after only just 3 months here with the city, you're familiar with the ordinance that controls the jurisdiction of the ARB. Within that, I don't know, I doubt, and I haven't seen that there's any type of advisory piece on any future legislative changes. So I think that's kind of what he's getting at, that, you know, the ARB has its job. Now, compare that to the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission, historically and typically and traditionally in any municipality in Ohio, is one of those boards that does have an advisory role when it comes to comprehensive plans, you know, long-range zoning plans for a city, and then also immediate zoning changes. Even in communities such as Twinsburg, where there's a referendum piece that's buttressed onto the zoning change, they have the right and the obligation to opine on zoning proposals. So I think maybe that's the difference, and that's why I say, for me, when I hear any concerns from anybody, whether you're sitting on a board or if you just call my office and say, hey, I'm just the lawyer, take it to the legislators. That's why we have, by law, this opportunity for public comment on Tuesday nights. And you sign your name under the podium and you say, hey, I'm here to express my thoughts. You know, whether it's not, you need another speed limit sign on, 91, or if maybe you feel that the building code ordinance has been amended in a way that's not positive. So that would be my advice on that.
Okay.
I do believe that's the first time I've ever been asked on how to change the laws that are operating in the meeting room. So I gotta give points for that.
Okay.
But before you cancel the meeting, I was hoping to just kind of, if I could take hopefully 30 seconds of your time.
Sure.
I wanted the opportunity to introduce myself. So I'm Matt. I've been here for 3 months. I have advised a few different communities, so Streetsboro, Aurora, Hudson, and now Twinsburg.
Okay.
Most recently, I was the law director in Hudson, and in my local government experience, I started out as a prosecutor and a land use lawyer, and I just kind of slowly gathered more experience over the years, and then I became a law director. Now I'm here, so I'm excited to get to work with everybody and meet everyone. And I wanted to not forget, I was going to write it down, but I knew it was something that I wouldn't forget because it's something I'm passionate about. One of the things that I've done in other communities is I believe that the land use boards and our elected officials, I think training can go a long way. So one of the things that I've rolled out before is individual training when you get appointed or elected, where we talk about sunshine laws, Public Records Act, and ethics. I think those are the tools I would want to be armed with. If it was my first day of giving my time and life to basically a volunteer job, at the end of the day with the amount of time you put together. So that's something I've talked to the mayor about that I want to roll out over the next year for our Plan Commission, our BZA, our ARB, and then, of course, newly elected members of our council and mayor. So you might see me again. If you have a highly contentious application, sometimes I'll be there to provide legal advice if you request it, or if I identify any issues that I think that my expertise can be helpful. But then also, I do hope you see me either one-on-one or at sometimes a scheduled work sessions where we look for a month, or we might have a lighter agenda, or if we want to add in, if it's all right with you guys tonight, or we sit and just talk. Because I've seen over the years that, we have these meetings together. We go through hundreds and hundreds of applications over the years, especially for some of our longer-serving board members. But we never have that opportunity to kind of decompress and debrief on what we did after the fact in a way that is done in a public meeting. So, it's consistent with the Open Meetings Act. And it's also a way where it's after we've taken action on an application so we can talk about things so we're not, offering our opinion before a vote. So what I like to do is roll that out where we do a little bit. I try not to bore everybody to death and talk too much, which I know I've already just done. That's 30 seconds and it's got to be longer than that. But we'll do some of the boring stuff, public records, ethics, public meetings, and then we can also have a conversation just about basically the stuff we started off talking about, jurisdiction. Why does this application come to us last year? Why didn't that? When I saw that, we can address questions and all get better together. And that is something that I'm really excited once I, get fully situated here in the city to begin rolling out with our boards and commissions. So at that, please feel free. You have my card. Give me a call. Shoot me an email. I'm there to answer the questions about why, who, what, when, why, where, as it relates to what you're doing.
Okay.
So I want to offer that because, again, we can all get better together. The questions help me become better, able to provide advice down the line, and I hope they help you, dispatch your duties as a member of the board. So,
awesome.
Promise I'm done now. So thank you for letting me
Thank you.
come tonight, and
It was a
welcome.
pleasure having you here.
Same to you.
Yeah.
Welcome to the board.
Yeah, anytime you want to talk, just bring the drinks, We're open to that.
That's the rule.
Are we loud here? I don't know.
We should adjourn first before we talk about the
Yes,
bottle
yes.
of scotch and the case of
Can you
beer,
stay for a moment after the meeting?
Sure.
Okay. Does anyone else have any other content before we don't have any absent members, so we can skip that one. Does anyone else have any more content they'd like to talk about today?
Actually have to be somewhere soon.
Okay, motion to adjourn?
I'll second.
It is 6:44. No, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong. It is 7:40. It is 7:44 p.m.
Well, it's like,
All right, Mrs. Frazier,
Yes.
Mr. Sharma,
Yes.
Mr. Gillian,
Yes.
Mr. Markovitz,
yes.
Mr. Midley.
Yes.
Thank you.